Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Danielle. For those of you who do not know me, hi, welcome. I'm so glad you stopped by today. Today I'm going to do my full eyeshadow palette collection. I've broken it down, done some other things, but I've come into some new eyeshadow palettes and different things in my collection, and I thought it would be fun to kind of break down my collection and show you guys what I have in it and maybe get some input on some things that you would like to see me film with. So without further ado, I'm just going to jump right in. This is probably going to be a long video. Some things I've played a lot with, other things I haven't. I'm not going to swatch anything, or at least I'm going to try not to swatch anything. So anyway, we're going to get right into it. I'm going to show you my eyeshadow palettes. This should be a blast. And you'll see my shelf kind of dwindle here because they're all going to come off and come over here, and it's going to be a whole thing. I don't know what that was. Okay, so the first one I have here, I actually have two of these, but the first one is the e.l.f. Bite-Size Eyeshadow in Carnival Candy. I absolutely think that is gorgeous. I like kind of browns with blue, and I couldn't resist picking that up. Then I have this bite-sized eyeshadow palette in Rosewater, and I completely blame my friend Raven Alexandra on here for me getting this one. She posted some Instagram looks using this palette, and it was absolutely beautiful. Then I have the e.l.f. and J. Kissa To The Rescue palette, and yes, I put stickers on mine because I'm a child. I couldn't help it. There were cute puppy stickers. They had to go on the palette. And that is what this one looks like. I actually really prefer the shimmers in this palette to the mattes. I do think it's an absolutely gorgeous palette. You guys know I'm a sucker for rainbow palettes. But I prefer the shimmers in this, and there's still some shades that I need to play with. I'm going to be real with you guys. I have so many palettes in my collection that sometimes some of them don't get the love they absolutely deserve. And then I have this one here. This is the Baked Browns by Dose of Colors. It might be kind of messy on the inside. Oh yeah, it is. It's messy. My little sister actually gave me this palette. She had it and she was like, do you want it? Because she decided she wasn't going to be wearing eyeshadows anymore. And I actually really like it. I know it's a brown, basic, boring palette, but it's actually really, really pretty. The only thing is like fingerprints get all over that. But I do really like it. Makes me want to try more from Dose of Colors, and I do want the new palettes from Dose of Colors. Then we have this little guy here. This is the Urban Decay On The Run Bailout palette. My old boss actually got this palette for me. I absolutely love this palette. It is a staple. I took it to Yellowstone with me, and it was just an easy peasy palette to use. So I absolutely really do love this palette. Then we have a palette that I just refuse to get out of my collection. It is the Crown Glam Metals palette. It looks like this right here. I absolutely love the shimmers in this. This gold right here, which is comparable to a different gold, but I can't get rid of it, and I do pull it out from time to time. I really like to use it in the fall. I've had it for years, and I'm refusing to get rid of it. I can't. It's a staple in my collection, and I'll have a hard time getting rid of it. Then we have this palette from Butter London. It's the Natural Goddess eyeshadow palette, and I have played with this a few times. I really love this green. It is kind of a basic palette. It's not anything too special, but I'm at a point with my collection where I'm not really ready to get rid of a whole lot. There might be things here and there that I might want to get rid of, but I'm having a hard time letting go of things. So not ready to declutter, so this will be in my collection. Maybe I'll do some looks with it or something. Then we have the Milani Gilded Pastel palette, and that is what this looks like. I've played with it a few times. I like to use it in conjunction with other palettes. I don't like to use it just on its own. Some of the pastels can be a little chalky in this, but I do love the shimmers that are in here. And it's definitely a palette that I need to play with a bit more. It's not a bad palette, it's just kind of a meh palette. Then we have the Pure Festival palette, and I can't remember who gave this to me, but they hadn't touched it or anything like that, but this is what it looks like. It does have some pressed glitters in it, and don't worry, I will be talking about pressed glitters in a video. I don't know if it's going to go up before this one, after this one, where it is, but if it's before, it'll be up in the cards. But I do like the color story and I do want to play with this. I am just not the biggest fan of Pure's formula. I don't know what it is, but it's just, it doesn't really intrigue me. I don't know. Then we have the Studio Makeup, what is this? Ease to Wear eyeshadow palette, I guess. It's just a bunch of neutrals, but they're cool tone neutrals, and I don't have a lot of cool tone neutrals in my collection. I mean, there might be a couple warmer browns, but most of them are cool tones. And I did a look with this. I was originally going to be using this palette for my wedding makeup, but I went with a different palette, and I'm kind of glad I did. I do like this. I don't know if I'm going to like I said, get rid of anything, but... Then we have one of my favorite palettes in my collection. I know not everyone loves Pretty Vulgar, but I do. I love this Nightingale palette. This is what it looks like. I love the gray brown tones. I love the setup of it. I think it's an adorable palette. And I am super happy to have this in my collection for when I do want to do more cool tone eyeshadow looks. And I have this one by Crown. It's the Crown Pro palette. It looks like this. It's a bunch of warm tones. I recently got this one. Yeah, a friend gave it to me. I was like, I don't remember who gave this to me, but this shade right here I think is very pretty. I need to kind of play with it more. It's very much that, it reminds me of the Naked Heat palette. Stuff like that, but that's a palette in my collection. Then we have my Natasha Denona Mini Lila palette. I love this thing, you guys. I absolutely love it. I love creating looks with this. I would definitely purchase more of the Natasha Denona mini palettes because of this one, because of how much I like this one. And it's just absolutely gorgeous. I love the gold. I love this purple shimmer. I love that I can do a more neutral look, just a quick 2 shadow look with these shades. I could do something more intricate. I could do the purple with the gold, and it's absolutely gorgeous. Love it. Then we have my Natasha Denona Sunrise palette. This one's messy and beat up because I do use it quite frequently. I got this from a subscriber. She was kind enough to send this with some other stuff that I'll talk about later in my collection video. But I do absolutely love this, and this has made me want to try more from Natasha Denona. Like, one day I will own the Natasha Denona Gold palette. It will happen. I'm putting that out into the universe. Then I have this Pat McGrath Eye Ecstasy in Subversive. These are gorgeous. To me though, they're just kind of basic shimmers. They're not anything super special, but I do enjoy them. I will pull them in if I'm doing an eye look with a bunch of mattes or using a bunch of my singles. I will grab for this. So it hasn't been a waste in my collection. You can kind of see that I do have some shades that have been used. Then we have, this one's actually my favorite of the two. This is the Sublime palette. I love this. I love the bronze kind of goldy shades. This one, this gold here, if you can't see the dip in it, it is my absolute favorite shade in this palette. I use it all the time, like more frequently than I think I even realize sometimes, but I do absolutely love it. Then I have my Violet Voss Pro Eyeshadow palette. This is their Holy Grail palette. I like this palette a lot. It is one of the very neutral palettes in my collection. I thought about decluttering it, and every time I do, I'm like, no, I want to keep it. So it has stayed in my collection and I have no regrets. It's an absolutely gorgeous palette. I love the formula in this palette, so it has stayed. It hasn't gone bad yet. I think I got this in a BoxyCharm. I want to say I got it in a BoxyCharm. Okay, then we have a newer palette to me. A friend actually got this for me, and it was very nice of her because she knows how much I love Harry Potter, and it was around my wedding and all of that, so it was a lot of fun. This is the Ulta Beauty and Harry Potter collection. I'm a Slytherin, so she got me the Slytherin one, and this is what it looks like. I've only played with this once. I want to play with it more. I absolutely love the green here, Herb. And I also love the shade Ivy and Toad. Oh, I just need to play with them more. I wish that they had gone with more kind of Slytherin like words or just something, or like giving them character names. I don't know. That's the only thing. But I do like that it says cunning, ambition, and pride. And then we have the Too Faced Just Peachy Mattes palette. This is what this looks like. I'm starting to see a trend that I have a lot of kind of warm toned, kind of neutrally palettes. Yeah. I have a lot of them. I do like this one. It still smells like peach. I don't think that peach smell is ever going to go away. This is actually, I like this one a lot. I don't know if you guys can see. I don't want to blind you with the mirror. Yes, all of my palettes are a mess because I use them. But I have used quite a few shades. And then we have the Too Faced Gingerbread Spice palette that I totally bought for the packaging because it's adorable. I do like it. It still has that weird gingerbread smell. My favorite shade is Hot Toddy right here. I absolutely love that shade. I need to play with this palette more. I want to get some use out of it. It just kind of sits there because it has adorable, cute packaging. Then we have my Tarte Rainforest of the Sea palette that has a lot of pan in it and has one shade completely used up and has more pan. I have used this thing to death. I really just use it for the mirror. Sometimes I'll dip into this, but I've had this forever, so I don't feel very comfortable using the shades on my eye. So really it just kind of hangs out and I use it for the mirror because it's nice and small and I can get close-up looks when I'm doing my eyeshadow. Then we have the Tarte Clay Play. My friend Raven sent this to me. I love this palette. As you can see, I have some shades that are definitely beat up. I do use this frequently. I'm getting more use out of kind of these shades here. And I'm really, really liking it. So it's gonna stay. As I've said in a couple of videos, I'm starting to really like more neutral leaning palettes. Then I have this Fenty Beauty Snap palette. This one is in Rose. It looks like that. I bought this on a whim one day when I went into a Sephora. This has to be months and months ago at this point, but I do really like the shades. I will say that some of these come off as a little sheer. I've had to build them up. I've also had a few instances where this shimmer right here creases. But other than that, I do kind of like it. I want Fenty to come out with a bigger eyeshadow palette. I do like these snap palettes, but I really was only attracted to the one and was not really looking to purchase any others. Then I have this eyeshadow palette from Makeup by Shy, and this is the I Don't Believe in Humans palette. And this is what it looks like. It is a beautiful rainbow palette with kind of a space theme in the names, and I really am liking it. I'm going to be doing a 3 looks 1 palette with this palette soon. And then we have the California Dreamin palette, and this is what it looks like. Absolutely gorgeous. My eyeshadow is from this palette. I'll link the 3 looks 1 palette video in the tags as well as in the description box down below, but this is what this beauty looks like. Okay, so the next palette I have here is this glitter palette. It's the Profusion You're a Gem Emerald Gems palette. I love the colors in this. I absolutely love these glitters. They work very, very well. I'm glad I picked it up. I'm glad I tried more from Profusion because I have a Profusion eyeshadow palette video up on my channel that has over 2,000 views, and there are a lot of people who get very, very angry about that video because that palette did not work for me. I tried to make it work. It didn't. I'm sorry. But another Profusion palette that worked for me is this Emeralds palette, and it is absolutely gorgeous. I really do like the quality of this palette, and this has given me hope in Profusion again. So I do really like this. I need to play with it some more. I want to play with it on camera. If you guys want to see me use this or any of these palettes here on my channel, let me know. Oh, hold on, battery dying. Need to change that out. Sorry about that, I'm back. My battery was just dying. It kept blinking at me and I was like, oh, if I don't change that now, we're gonna lose this. Then I have the ColourPop Double Entendre eyeshadow palette. This is what this looks like. My little sister actually gave this to me, and this is what I used on my wedding day. I do really like the shades in this. I think it's really pretty. Is this a ColourPop palette I would have purchased for myself? Probably not. Then we have the ColourPop Butter Me Up. I love just the butterflies on this. This is what this one looks like. It does have 2 pressed glitters, and I know not a lot of people are fans of pressed glitters, but I am. I absolutely love this one. I don't know, I think this is the one my brother Curtis got me for Christmas last year, and I absolutely adore it. Then I have a Flutter, which this is the one my little sister got me last year for Christmas. I love this one. In person, it's a lot brighter than I think it's showing on camera, but it is gorgeous. I love orangey tones lately. I guess I'm getting back into warmer tones, which is funny that I say that since I'm wearing blue eyeshadow. Then we have an absolute favorite of mine. This is the BH Cosmetics Weekend Festival. You can pry this palette out of my cold dead hands. It is staying here. It is absolutely gorgeous. BH Cosmetics did really well with this palette, and I really want them to do super well with a bunch of other palettes as well, but this is my absolute favorite BH Cosmetics palette in my entire collection. Then I have the Solar Flare palette. I bought a lot of these space themed palettes because they were a lot of fun to me. This one is definitely more of those warm tone kind of baked shadow vibes. I really like it. Baked shadow vibes. They are baked shadows. I don't know why I said vibes. It's not like it's like vibing off of it and being like, ooh, I'm kind of like this. No, they're baked shadows. I like their baked shadow formula. I know not everyone does. I do. This one out of the space theme palettes is my favorite. This is the Galaxy Chic. You will see that there are dips in some of these shades because I do absolutely love it. I still reach for it. This one, not so much. It's just, I'm having a hard time again getting rid of makeup. It's a problem. I know it's a problem. I also have the Aurora Lights. I like this. I've played with it. I've actually done a full eye look just using this because screw it. Who cares if shimmers can't go in your crease? Yes, they can. I put glitter there. That's a shimmer. Then we have the Stellar Collision palette, which I actually like to pull this one out for highlights sometimes. I haven't really used it on my eyes, but I'll use this one as a highlight as well as this gold. Sometimes I'll use it for inner corner and things like that. Then we have the BH Cosmetics Take Me Back to Brazil palette. That is what this one looks like. I've used it several times, and sometimes I reach for it again. This is like the ultimate rainbow palette in my collection. I think it's gorgeous, but I do need to use it a bit more. All this is making me realize is that I need to use my palettes a bit more. I stepped away to get some water and told my husband what I was filming, and he told me he would see me Thursday. So nice of him. This is the Sugar Pill. This is their mini color palette, the fun size palette. This little cute little pastel guy here. I really like this palette. I do need to use it more. I bought it because I've always wanted to try Sugar Pill. From what I understand, this doesn't live up to the actual quality of Sugar Pill, but it is still an adorable little palette, and I'm glad I have it in my collection. Then my favorite pastel palette, the Creepy Cute by, what is their name now? It's not Strobe anymore. Oh my gosh. Hold on. Hold the phone. Shroud Cosmetics. The Creepy Cute palette. I do absolutely love this. I love to create looks with this. It's such a fun palette, and they're very pigmented for pastels. I think you can get the singles on their site. I'm not 100% sure. I'll leave it in the description box. I'll find out. Then we have the Bright Lights palette by Pinky Rose. I love the mattes and some of the shimmers. I do not like the pressed glitters in this. I do not think these are good pressed glitters. That is just my opinion. I do not like them. I will not use them. They irritate my eyes so bad, and I don't know why, because it's not like they're completely different than others, but yeah, not my favorite. But I do love the mattes, and that is why this palette stays in my collection. Then I have the Midas and Smoky Glow palette, which I think this palette is absolutely gorgeous. If you guys can tell, my favorite shade here is Nutty. It has, I'm probably gonna hit pan on that shade soon, but I do love this. I need to play with it some more. Oh my gosh, that's gonna be like the theme of this video. I need to play with this some more. I need to play with this some more. I do, but I do love this. I guess I just kind of want to be able to play with all of my eyeshadow palettes. Then I have the Saharan by Juvia's Place. I like this palette. It is not my favorite Juvia's Place palette, but I do like it. My friend Amanda Guard, I don't know if she's still doing YouTube. I haven't seen her post in a long time. She actually sent this to me because she was no longer going to be using it, so that is how I got this in my collection, and I do like it. Then we have the Nomad by Juvia's Place, which I got this for Christmas. It is neutral, but it's more of like that mustardy, dirty, grungy kind of neutral, and I really like it. I love Juvia's Place formula. It is they have some of my favorite shadows, but of all of it, I love their shimmers. Then I have the Zulu palette here, and that is what this beauty looks like. It is kind of a rainbow palette. I love the shimmers in this one. I love this teal shade right here. I love this one as well. This is just an absolutely gorgeous palette. And then I have the Warrior 3 by Juvia's. This one is so pretty. I saw this and I had to have it in my collection. I love the blues. I love this kind of like bluey gray tone shimmer here. It's absolutely gorgeous. The only shade I don't really like is this purple, but the rest of it I'm down with. Then we have my newest Juvia's Place palette in my collection. This is the Magic Mini by Juvia's Place. This is what it looks like. I am so excited to have this in my collection. I love that it has warm tones and cool tones. It's such a fun palette, and I can't wait to play with it more on my channel. Then I have the Afrique by Juvia's. This palette is absolutely gorgeous. I love it. I love, love, love it. It's very different tones in terms of these colors. I really do like this yellow. I love it. It's so pretty. Then we have the Tribe by Juvia's Place, and I really like this. I'm a sucker for green. If you guys have not noticed, I do have quite a few green palettes, and this one is one of my favorites. I really like this shade right here. It's super, super pretty. Then we have the Wahala palette. And that is what this looks like. I absolutely love the glitters in this palette, you guys. I love the way they're formulated. They're absolutely gorgeous. They sit very well on the eyes. I love everything about this palette. It is very different than a lot of Juvia's Place other palettes, but I like it a lot. Then I have this Ace Beauty Scarlet Dusk palette. This is what this looks like. It's a very kind of warm tone palette. I want to try more by Ace Beauty. This one is newer in my collection and hasn't even been swatched, touched, nothing like that. I got it from a friend who just did not want it in their collection. Then we have one of my favorite palettes in my collection. This is Kiss My Glitter by Dear Katie Brown. It's a glitter palette, you guys. Look at it. It's so pretty. Ah, I love glitter. I want more of her palettes because I just want to throw glitter all over my face. I do. Then we have the Colored Rain Berry Cute palette. I really like this palette. I had a different Colored Rain palette that I think my friend Raven sent me, and I wasn't too into that one, but I absolutely do love this one. I love it. It's good for quick on the go kind of looks, and it makes me want to try more from Colored Rain. Then we have the Lethal Cosmetics palette that I created. If you guys don't know, you can go on to their website and you can pick the shades to put in a palette. This is what mine looks like. I want the new palette by them, but I don't have the money right now. Then this is my Alamar Cosmetics Reina del Caribe eyeshadow volume 1. I said that horribly, but that is what this palette looks like. I love this palette. This is one of my favorites in my collection. I have several favorites in my collection. I love the shimmers. They are absolutely gorgeous. The mattes work very well. The shimmers are my favorite part of this palette and why I will not declutter it. Then I have the Celestial Thunder by Dominique Cosmetics. It looks like this. My mom actually gave this to me because she wasn't going to be using it. I want the big version of this. I want the Celestial Storm palette so bad because I have this palette. Like, I want the full thing because I absolutely love this palette. I love these oranges here. I love this pink. This teal shade is absolutely gorgeous, and I just need to play with all of these more. Then we have some palettes that are going to make me kind of sad because I absolutely loved the products from this brand, and I have several of their eyeshadow palettes, and they are rebranding, I believe, into something else. I'm just not sure. This is the Hasina palette by Blush Tribe. It is a beautiful rainbow palette. That is what it looks like. Then we have my favorite Blush Tribe palette hands down, and this is the Hasina 2 palette. And that is what it looks like right there. It is a gorgeous combination of purple, blue, and green, and I absolutely love it. This black shade is one of my favorite black shades in all of my collection. It blends out beautifully. It is what I want every single black eyeshadow in my collection to be. It blends out just, oh, so gorgeous. Then I have the Pastel Tribe, and it looks like this. I've played with it a few times. I need to play with it more. I love that the Danielle shade is green. It was not named that for me for anything, but it's named Danielle and it's green, and green's my favorite color. Then I have the Layla palette, which is a matte kind of rainbow palette. It is absolutely pretty. I love the mattes in here. This teal shade is one of my favorite teals in my entire collection. Then we have a favorite green palette of mine. This is the Layla 2. And it looks like this. It is such a beautiful green. The only thing I wish is that they had a little more depth and a little bit more grungy greens in it. Then I have the Paulina palette. I love this. I love it. This will be in my collection for a very long time because I do love Paulina's channel. Then I have, this is the last Blush Tribe palette in my collection, but it is the Fall Fusion palette. And this is absolutely a gorgeous palette, you guys. I love it. I wish that Blush Tribe was still going to be around so that people could get their hands on this absolutely gorgeous palette. Then we have a newer palette to my collection. It's by Makeup Obsessions. It's the Rady Dusk, and it looks like this. I really like it. I created a look the other day, and this gold shade, Lothlorien, is so pretty. Like, I'm shocked that I did not go right into like the greens and the gold and just do a look with that. I went for more kind of purpley mauvey tones. Then we have the Mercury Retrograde by Huda Beauty. I don't like this one as much as I like the new nude palette, but I do like this. It is very pretty. I like Huda's quality. I get these for Christmas quite often. Then we have the new nude palette. I love this palette. I wish they did not put a concealer shade in here. That annoys the crap out of me every time, but I do absolutely love this. The glitters aren't super, they're not my favorite, but they're not horrible. But I do love the shimmers. I mean, you guys can see my palette's kind of trashed. I use it a lot. On to the next set of palettes. This is the Violet Ink by Menagerie Cosmetics. It is their mini purple palette, and I adore this palette. I love it. I love using it in conjunction with another palette that I'm going to show you, the Whale Song palette. But this is so gorgeous. I love Menagerie Cosmetics formula. They have absolutely gorgeous palettes. One of my favorite indie brands. This is the Whale Song palette. That is what it looks like. It is blues and greens, so you know, right in my wheelhouse of colors. It's just absolutely gorgeous. I love this green shade Kelp right here. It is so pretty. Then I have the Feral palette. I went ahead and I got the new Harmonia shade, but I did not get the Wolfling shade, so I don't have that one, but I did replace the Harmonia shade with that teal, and I absolutely love how it looks in the palette. I will at some point probably get the Wolfling shade. I don't know if I'll put it in here or not, But this is one of my favorite palettes to play around with. I absolutely love the color story. I love the packaging. It is so, so pretty. And then I have, when they were Makeup Monster Cosmetics, I have their Dragon Child palette. You can get this palette in singles on Menagerie's site. This is an absolutely gorgeous palette. I will say, one thing I will say about Menagerie Cosmetics is if you're somebody who does not like staining on your eyes, these palettes stain your eyelids. Every single one of them has stained my eyelids. And then I absolutely love this brand, and I love it. This is the palette I started out with this brand. It's the Lunar Beauty Moonspell palette, and can you guys look at it? It's just such a gorgeous color story. I absolutely love it. The packaging, every single detail is just thought out. It is so gorgeous. It looks like a book when you put it on your shelf. I love it. It's a favorite of mine. Then, because of that, I went ahead and picked up the Strawberry Dream palette, and I am so glad I did. I've played with this maybe twice, so not every single shade has been touched, but I do absolutely love this palette. It is a gorgeous palette. It's so pretty. My favorite shade is the Blue Diamond shade. It is so, I just love it. I love it. Now we're gonna get into my Sephora Pro palettes. And this is the Sephora Pro Pigment Editorial palette. My grandmother bought this one for me, and then I picked up two of the others, but this is what the editorial palette looks like. It is so, so pretty. It is so colorful and so much fun to play with. I love these palettes. I'm glad though that they went from using a sheet with the names on it to actually printing the names on the shadows. This one they did not. This was one of their first ones, and when I saw it, I was like, well, I know what I'm asking for Christmas, and I'm glad I did. Then I have the Sephora Pro Pigment Smoky Jewels palette. I love, you guys, look at this palette. It is so gorgeous. It is jewel toned but also neutral. It is just a very, very pretty palette, and it blends out very, very well. That's why I really like the formula of these palettes. Then I have the Sephora Pro Editorial 2.0 palette, and this one is a much softer version of like editorial. It has, my favorite row is this one right here with these kind of grungy greens, and I love it. I love that each row can kind of be its own color story. Up next are my Makeup Revolution / iHeart Revolution palettes. This is the Makeup Revolution Forever Flawless Birds of Paradise. I love how colorful this is. I've played with it a couple of times. I need to kind of play with it a little bit more. I have not touched the glitters in here, but there are other palettes that they have where their glitters are really, really nice, so I'm hoping that is the case with this one. I love these kind of jelly eyeshadows. It's a beautiful palette. Then we have this one, which is the Revolution x Tammy Tropical Carnival eyeshadow palette. That is what this looks like. I am not a fan of this green shade. Some of these work really, really well in this palette. Others are kind of iffy. They tend to be a little bit hit or miss when it comes to Makeup Revolution. But this is one of the palettes with nicer quality. Then I have the Makeup Revolution Integrity palette, the palette that I bought just because the 13-year-old inside of me was like, get this. Because when I was that age, I was all about zebra print. It was bad. That is what this looks like. A lot of the shades are very similar to the Tropical Carnival palette, so if you have one, you don't need both. I, again, got it for the packaging, and as you can see, have barely touched this one. Need to play with it some more. Then we have the iHeart Revolution Tasty Avocado. I do like this. I prefer the shimmers in this palette to anything else. I absolutely think the packaging is adorable. The shimmers work really, really well. It is a very, very pretty palette. I do wish that they had, instead of just this deepening shade, that they had a couple more, because to me, a lot of these kind of run along the same tone. Then we have the Makeup Revolution Patricia Brights palette. This is my absolute favorite Makeup Revolution palette. It is absolutely gorgeous. I love it. Look at how pretty that is. It is so gorgeous. It's so colorful. I love the glitters. I love this jelly shadow. It has a dent because I use it frequently. I also love Honey Pot. It's just gorgeous and very, very pigmented. It works very well. I really like this one and would recommend. Then we have the Makeup Revolution, the Emily Edit The Wants palette. I can't seem to get rid of this palette. I don't want to. I actually really do like it. It is a much more toned down kind of colorful palette, but it is a lot of fun. I like to actually use the greens and some of the darker shades to create eyeshadow looks out of this. I will reach for this from time to time. It is an easy kind of palette to use when I need to do more neutral, work appropriate looks. But that one's staying. And then we have the Makeup Revolution Alexis Stone Instinct palette. My grandmother got this for me for Christmas. It is such a rainbow palette. I actually used the grays a little while ago to just kind of do a gray monotone, monochromatic look. I love the grays. I haven't played with any of the other shades, so I can't tell you how I feel about them. I need to play with this one more, that is for sure. If you guys could only see my desk right now, it's covered in eyeshadow. Okay, so I'm going to let you know that some of these palettes in this section of this video can be considered controversial just because of the brands that they are. Not all of them, just some of them. I own a lot of makeup from a lot of different brands and I just kind of wanted to give that warning. The first palette I'm going to show here is by Morphe and Jaclyn Hill. This is the Armed and Gorgeous palette. I picked this up because I love the color story. This one is not my favorite of the two of these that I have. It is gorgeous, but it's not my favorite. I do like to wear this in the fall though. This one, the Dark Magic palette, is one of my favorite. I just love the deep dark greens in this palette. I love this kind of grungy green in Potion. I love the color story in this. This spoke to me when it came out. Then I have the Morphe eyeshadow palette in Brunch Babe. My little sister gave this one to me. Yes, she did. They got this, my mom and my sister share their BoxyCharm. They got it in BoxyCharm and my little sister had been using it, no longer wanted it, and gave it to me. I have yet to touch it. I got it about a couple months ago and have not played with it yet. Then I actually went and picked up two Morphe palettes. I felt weak, okay? This is the Make and Bank palette. Okay, I hate that they couldn't print the names on this, but I do love the color story. Again, it's that kind of grungy green neutral color story that I like. I also, which these two, I could have just got one to get this color story, but I couldn't resist the Boss Mood palette, which looks like this. I actually really like the color story in this one. This one has intrigued me for a very long time, and I finally went ahead and pulled the trigger and purchased it. I have a very precarious stack of palettes here on my desk. I'm gonna try and make some room. Oh, look, more Violet Voss palettes. This is the Violet Voss Essentials palette. I like this palette. I don't know, I kind of jive well with Violet Voss formula. Not everyone likes it. This is also a decent black. It's one of the more decent ones in my collection, but this emerald shade is absolutely gorgeous. Then I have the Violet Voss, the Rainbow Eyeshadow Palette. I broke the mirror. So you know what that means, 7 years of bad luck. Huh. But this is what it looks like. I have dipped into this quite a bit. I do use this. I do really enjoy the shade Seafoam and Fiji, as well as these two purples here. It's a very, very pretty palette. Okay. Now we're going to talk about my Anastasia Beverly Hills palettes. As you guys know, I am no longer purchasing from Anastasia Beverly Hills just because of things that have been said about how they've treated Black people, people of color, and things like that. I just do not feel comfortable purchasing from them, but I do still have a lot of their palettes in my collection. The first one is the Mini Pro Pigment Volume 3, and it looks like that. I really like the shimmers. I'm not such a huge fan of that glitter, and the mattes work really, really well. Then I have the Mini Pro Pigment Volume 2. It looks like this. You guys know why that color story spoke to me. It's the greens and the yellow and kind of this kind of like peachy orange here. Then I have my favorite palette. It's the Jackie Aina palette. I love this palette. Like, to me, I love this more than the Modern Renaissance palette, and I still have that, but this one, I will reach for it over the Modern Renaissance. This is my favorite Anastasia Beverly Hills palette by far. Then I have the Alyssa Edwards palette because I decided I needed to buy a drag queen color shade selection, I guess, but I do really, really like this palette. Not as much as the Jackie Aina palette, but I do like this one. Then I have the Riviera palette because, you know, I felt like I needed to have similar shades to the Alyssa Edwards. I don't know where it cut off because this is going to be a long video, but I have this one, which is the Riviera palette, and it's very similar to the Alyssa Edwards palette. If you have one, I don't really think you need the other. Then we have the Norvina palette, the original Norvina palette. Looks like this. This is, I would say, my second favorite just based on color story. But yeah, it's a very, very pretty palette. Then we have the Prism palette. I know not everyone liked this one, but I still like it. I still like the out there kind of color story. It's a very, very pretty color story. Then we have the one that started it all, the Modern Renaissance. Well, the one that started it all for me. This one I've hit pan on quite a bit. At some point, I am going to have to declutter this beauty. I've had it for over 3 years now. It's been in my collection for over 3 years. That's insane. Then I have, which one is this? This is the Volume 3. I think we're going backwards. That's fine. And this is the ABH Norvina Volume 3 palette. My parents bought these for me for my birthday. I do really like to play with them. I like the pigmentation. I'm kind of sad that Anastasia Beverly Hills has fallen from grace. I think Norvina kind of had a problem with some things. I think they pushed palettes out too quickly. It's just been a whole mess for them. This is Volume 2, which this one the Volume 3 is my absolute favorite in the collection. This one's very, very pretty, but Volume 3 is my favorite. And then we have the Volume 1 palette, which the packaging, the like overlay stuff is just like falling off of this one. And I've had them all the same amount, but this one is the more purple leaning palette. Then I have my Bad Habit Retro Love palette. I was going to depop this, but I wanted to leave it. It is supposed to be a dupe of Subculture, and I actually do really like this dupe. Then we have my favorite rainbow palette, hands down still. It's my Carity Matte palette. This is what it looks like. I still love this palette, you guys. I cannot get rid of it. It is absolutely gorgeous. It's what started my rainbow obsession. Oh, and then I forgot about this. Then we have this is the highlighter palette, but I use it on my eyes. It's the Kilowatt Foil Freestyle Highlighter Palette. I use these as eyeshadows. I'm trying to, so you guys can see, because I know my lights are probably washing it out horribly, but that is what it looks like. Okay, now we're getting into some really controversial brands. This makes me nervous. I didn't mean to end on this note, so I apologize, but we're gonna get into it. I have the Jeffree Star Mini Breaker and the Jeffree Star Jawbreaker palette. I was sent to these by I was sent these by a subscriber who really wanted me to try out some Jeffree Star palettes and knew that I was not ever going to purchase them. I'm glad I got to try his formula. That's as much as I'll say. Would I ever go out and purchase them? No, but I am glad that I got to try his formula. And then this is the Jawbreaker palette, the kind of all over the place rainbow palette with this exceptionally beautiful gold shade. I also don't know that I will be using the Jeffree Star palettes here on my channel ever. I might use them off my channel and just kind of keep it at that. We'll see. I might also declutter them. I have not decided. Then I have this Kat Von D Divine palette, which I got just before I think everything happened with Kat Von D, but I bought it more because of Divine. And then I have the Saint Sinner palette by Kat Von D as well. My best friend got this for me for my birthday. It is a very sentimental palette in my collection, and I absolutely do love the packaging. If anything Kat Von D got right, it was the over-the-top packaging. And just in case you guys miscount, that's 105 eyeshadow palettes in my collection. That's a lot of eyeshadow. I have a lot of eyeshadow to play with. Please leave comments in the comment section down below of which eyeshadow palettes you guys would like to see me play with here on camera. I would really appreciate it. Well, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please give it a like, subscribe to my channel if you have not already, leave a comment in the comment section down below so that we can chat. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!